healthy finally for the first time in his career. I think he's on a good team, and Tampa's not a good team, but they have good staff. Now coming to a good team with good staff as well, he can really do some damage for you. He throws the ball 98 miles an hour, and Cora's going to have him challenge players, but also throw that stuff in the dirt that he's been doing a lot this year as well. He's started to throw less fastballs this year as well. I think that's also helping out with his arm and why he's been affected this long into the season, even though coming off an injury. So I love it. I think the contract's great. I think you could re-sign him. I think he could definitely be your third option. If he pitches well the next 2 months and Price does what he's been doing, which is like okay against awful teams and bad against good teams, you throw Price back in the pen where he proved he can be effective, and you let Eovaldi be your third starter. So I love it.
If it works out that way, it'll be nice. I mean, we've heard all day that, he could be tough on, a lot of the Yankees right-handed hitters. So you might have a situation where you just might have matchups. Like your number 3 and 4 starters are just going to come down to matchups every series.
Oh, 100%. We have one righty rotation right now, and it's Porcello.
Right.
Everyone else is. So he adds another depth where you can throw lefty, righty, or lefty, righty, depending on the matchup, like you said. And it gives Eovaldi the option as well come out of the pen. And if he's playing, he just went from Tampa to here, he's going to have no issue if Alex Cora says, hey, it's the 5th inning of Game 3 at ALDS, get your glove, you're going out there for 3. He's not going to care. He's just going to go out there and do it.
Yeah, and he could. Before I get to Austin real quick, just one other thing about him before I forget. I don't, where he's had his second Tommy John, I mean, if we bring him back next year, I just want it to be on a 1-year deal. I don't want to commit anything long-term to this guy because, I don't know that his mechanics are any different from the previous two.
I agree. I would want him on a 1-year, $3 million, $4 million deal. A little bit of a bump up from this year, but at the same token, like, nothing crazy, and it doesn't lock us up long-term. I completely 100%.
Yeah. Austin, how do you feel about him? How do you feel about the trade, and how do you, in the short term, how do you think it'll work out?
Well, I love this trade actually, which is crazy to think. Dave Dombrowski made this team better on a rotation that's ailing, by the way. Like, we are just torn to shreds with injuries right now, and he made it better by only having to trade Jalen Beeks, who wasn't going to have a future here in the next, immediate future, basically. He wasn't going to help us win a World Series this year. Let's put it that way. That's the better way to put it. And if you have a GM that can go out and do that for you and not give up a huge piece, then what more could you ask for? For all we know, Eovaldi could be that third guy in the playoffs. And we could look back on this move and think, man, that move was better than the Steve Pearce move, which the Steve Pearce move looks pretty damn good right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to go crazy on him, but he does hit lefties well, so he's a situational guy going forward. But with Eovaldi, another thing, it just slipped my mind. That was it was something to one of your points. Oh yeah. So I'm sorry. I was mentioning in asking you guys, what's an outside the box move that could happen? And I keep comparing Addison Reed to that because he wasn't on my radar until roughly 24, 48 hours before we got him last year. And all the talk has been J-Hap, Hamels,
Britton.
Right. And so he ended up being the outside the box guy, basically, because there's always someone that gets pulled out from somewhere, and every organization has one. And I was just racking my brain to try to come up with some more, and he wasn't. I was really surprised. And when I heard the trade, I was actually driving to a beach today, and I started. I don't know if that's when I turned on the radio or if it just finally caught my attention. But it was right after Merlone said it. So I heard everything but his name. He was rattling off the stats, and I'm trying to figure out, who the hell is he talking about? Who did we just get? And finally, they say his name again, and I'm like, all right. And I texted Chris Saunders, and he thought it was an absolute steal as well. So,
yeah, he loves the deal.
Yeah.
I don't see how anyone could hate it on either side. They get a young, controllable pitcher that they can develop and that they can keep on the team for 5+ years, for nothing basically. And He's 24 years old. He's had one good year in the Red Sox system. It was this year. He's been lights out all year, and he's been striking guys out in AAA. He looked awful in 2 major league appearances here, which is nothing to write home about. I'm not judging him on that, but to take a guy like Austin said isn't going to help you this year. Wouldn't help you next year most likely either. Honestly, as like a top 3 or 4 rotation guy, 3 years from now you'd see Jalen Beeks, and I'd rather go for the World Series now. And I honestly, Eovaldi's only 28, I believe, and Beeks is 24. So Eovaldi could technically still be on this team for another 3 years and be in his prime and give you Beeks type of numbers and innings as well.
You took Jalen Beeks and you upgraded to Eovaldi. Is how I look at it, basically.
Yeah, 100%. I didn't even, and like Terry said, I'm 100% with you, Terry. I didn't know he was even an option, right? I didn't saw he's been pitching well this year. He's that third guy in that rotation, that's been really good. And, didn't think the Rays would give him up, but it makes sense for the Rays. They're not going to re-sign him after this year, even if it was for a couple more $1 million. That's what the Rays do. And, they need to stay cheap down there. Moneyball tactics.
And another interesting thing here, I haven't checked in the last 30 minutes or so what's going on with J Happ, but the Yankees are connected to him. I guess the Brewers are. But if he does, just for shits and giggles, goes to the Yankees, that's the third trade within the division, because, we got Eovaldi from Tampa. They got Britton from Baltimore, and then
we got Steve Pearce from Toronto.
Toronto, yeah. Okay, so make that 4. Yeah. Blue Jays appear close
Getting a little friendly.
Striking a deal with Happ. I'm just reading that out loud right now.
Yeah. Out of the box guy, Terry, that you were talking about, you're like, what's the Addison Reed move? Keona Keller just blew his first save last night of 2018. So if you're looking for an out of the box like move, go get that closer from Texas. I don't think it'll take too much.
Really? I mean, I am familiar with him, and I've considered him, but, I mean, how much control does he have left on his deal?
2021.
Oh, so, I mean, that should be a costly...
It should, but it's not going to be. Because that's the way John Daniels functions. He's never got the best out of trades in his career, basically, as the Ranger GM.
Well, it's crazy that he still has a job then. Yeah, well, that would be fine because, like I said, I mean, I'm operating right now on, my comfort zone is pretty high with what we have. If Cora just makes the right moves, and I think we have a pretty.
And Cora's still good with the bullpen, like he's been pretty much the entire year. I'm confident with our guys as well. We do have a good bullpen. People kind of forget that. They're looking for an excuse. They're waiting for these guys to implode and just assuming they will, but. They kind of figured it out, and they got a good manager and a good pitching coach to help kind of figure it out at this point.
Right.
If you were to look at Twitter half the time, if you were to look at Red Sox Twitter half the time, you would think this team has 20 wins.
Well, yeah. Yankees Twitter is like that. So I think when you have a big fan base like that, you get the pink hats that have no idea what they're talking about. And I think that, sadly, the Red Sox and Yankees have the 2 biggest bandwagon fans. Houston will be third soon when they win the World.
No, they already are. They're the worst.
You can go on Twitter right now and into the search bar type in #FireMadden and they would be everywhere. And I'm like, I hate him, and so does Dave, but he did get them to 3 straight NLCS appearances. So it's like, what do you want with a manager? And I don't know if they brought him into Boston, like. I guess I would try to like him, but I would hate that anyway. Oh, God, that's the only reason I just can't be happy for their success. I just hate Joe Madden.
I need that, and I need a live stream on Dave as he's managing the Red Sox.
Yeah.
You would get me every single episode. I would not like him. It would, what it'd be? I would respect him, and I would hope good things. It would kind of be like when LeBron was leaving for like the millionth time out of Cleveland this year. And they're talking about, the Celtics will move for him. I hate LeBron. I don't want LeBron in my team, but I do know he's the best player in the world, and he would help the team. So I'd be happy for the team. I wouldn't be happy for him. I'd be happy if the Red Sox won a World Series with Joe Madden, but I wouldn't be all, blowing Joe Madden and excited and, talking about he's the most smartest guy in the room. You wouldn't ever catch me saying that.
Can we touch on Joe Madden's like little protege down there in Tampa.
Yeah,
Kevin Cash.
Chris says he should be manager of the year, and honestly, I'd be fine with that.
He is doing a phenomenal job. You see what he did today? It was my favorite thing all year.
What, with Romo?
Yeah, with Romo. He pitched Romo, then he brought in Vetters, moved Romo to third, and then he moved Romo back to pitching, and Romo got the save.
You can do that, can't you?
Yeah.
Wow.
I tweeted it. I was like, he should definitely get a save and a hold. There is no reason that he should.
Holy crap.
Oh, it was amazing. I was watching the end of the Yankee game because Chris was like, this game's making me sick. I was like, what is he talking about? I was like, oh, it's 2:00. The Yankees are on. And then I turned it on, and Joe Madden's got Romo at third base.
He texted me that too, but I was driving, so I couldn't really converse with him. But it's just so strange that he would move a pitcher to a base, an actual position.
Yeah, he's mini Joe Madden.
He really is mini Joe Madden.
That's crazy.
They gave him the save, obviously. I don't know if they gave him.
They don't think they gave him a hold, which sucks.
Yeah, no. But I wouldn't mind him being in the conversation for manager of the year. I think if it ended right now, you got to give it to Cora, though, right?
Yeah.
I think Cora's going to get it no matter what, really. I think he'll still get it. But
unless Tampa makes a run I'm talking serious run at the playoffs. Like last week of the season, they are like 3 games out with 5 games left. Like if they're there and they're a conversation and he's doing it with this team, I could see you giving it to him then, even if the Red Sox win 113 games. Like, that's very impressive. But if they miss the playoffs by 17 games, I don't think he's in the conversation for like number 1. If you want to put him up there with, in the top 5 or 3, sure, but I don't think he wins it unless they make a serious run.
I just don't see them going with a non-postseason team is really it. And I would give it to Kevin Cash. And another thing that I've seen lately, I mean, it would be hard to, if we win, say, 105 games, I think we're on pace for 110, but just say it's like 105. I mean, you kind of do have to give it to Cora, but every year when the top team is like 90-something, it seems like it automatically goes to the second wild card because that's what happened with Molitor last year. And I'm like, that's so dumb because that wasn't a playoff team. I know it technically was, but it wasn't built for the postseason, and the only reason it got in was because that's what the system called for. That was what the playoff format was. So I don't want it to go to a manager like that every year. Lovello was a wild card manager, and he got it, but
I thought he deserved it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did an excellent job with that Arizona team.
And that's what I'm getting at. They played well. I think they won, 93 games, something like that. And they weren't expected to, for sure. I mean, nobody thought they were getting into the postseason. And he just, much like Francona, he gets so much more out of less. And so I thought he deserved it, but man, I didn't want Molitor to get it, and I found it funny. John Farrell did not get 1 vote. He, 93 wins, back-to-back division titles, not 1 vote for him. So I thought that was hilarious.
It's hard to do when your fan base universally hates him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, I think that he turned into a lot like Aaron Boone, where he was just a puppet there, because Aaron Boone is showing that he's blowing games and that he can't handle his players. And I don't think Sanchez should have went on the DL. And I think if Girardi was still there, he wouldn't have been on the DL. He would have been benched, like flat out benched.
Or optioned, maybe.
Yeah, or even options for, a little bit. But he doesn't have the balls. He doesn't have the experience. He just doesn't have it. He's not that type of manager. He's not a good manager out there in New York. And I think even the hardcore Yankee fans, I think we talked about this with Chris. We always talk about Chris Saunders because he's our Yankees guy. But I think we didn't talk about it. He's an analytics guy. He's there because the team's good. He's not there to make the team good. I think that's what John Farrell turned into. I think Cora is here to make the team good. I think Kevin Cash is here to make the team good. I think Dave Roberts is a lot like that, where he's just out there and he gels. He's a good guy. He's funny, but he doesn't make the Dodgers the Dodgers.
No,
I think. Right.
And with Boone specifically, I meant to ask Chris this before I come on, but because he sees the team, a lot closer than we do. But I